This video is to describe a few basic table manipulations, how to manually select data, how to add or modify columns in this data set. So here we have a sample data set of wetlands for the Wisconsin-Minnesota border. If I right-click and select Open Attribute Table, I see that there are various items here for each of the features. So each of these rows corresponds to a feature. I can also change the sorting of these features by clicking on a column. So this sorts them by area, this from lowest to highest, and I click again from highest to lowest. Now when I click on a feature to select it in this tab, you can see in the background that the feature is shown in a selection color. So I'm doing a manual selection as I work along. So this feature that's listed first now, this has this still wet ID of 2, is the background upland layer. The second feature here listed is an area in Wisconsin that isn't mapped because these are Minnesota-based data, and so they only map the Minnesota side of the St. Croix River here running through the middle. So I can manually select features by clicking on them. I can also Shift or Command and click on multiple features to select multiple at one time. If I wanted to save a set of features that I selected manually, the one or two big ones, or delete them or do other things, I can do this manual selection, again by clicking on these rows on the side. Now notice if I have several selected, and I click without holding the Command or Shift key on another one, it deselects the ones that are already selected and reselects a new set. If I want to clear the selection, this deselect all works, and the selected set then becomes unselected. Now if I want to modify a column or add a column, I have to open the table for editing and then use this modification tool here. I can calculate or just simply add rows. So I'll open this field calculator and I can see then that I have two basic options. I can update an existing field or create a new field. So I can update an existing field by giving it a name. Here I'll call this type, I don't know. And I have to specify what kind it is. So it's a whole number, a decimal, a text. I want to make this one text because I'm going to type in some attributes. I can give it a length then. And then I can give it an expression. Now if I leave this blank, nothing will happen. I can give an expression, I can call this null. So they're all entered as null. And I can enter it as OK. And you see I have then this null type in here. It's named type, and everything has a value of null. Now I can click on it and enter a value, like I'll call this first. And now I'm basically just manually editing and typing into each of the rows. I can assign new values then to a set by selecting a set, right? So here I'm selecting a bunch. I can go then into the calculate row. I can update an existing field. I can select the one that I'm currently editing and type in some value like second. Oops. It would help if I could type. Right? Oops. And I have to, because it's a text field, enclose this in quotes, right? To give it a value. So here I have it enclosed in single quotes. I apply it OK, and those three selected values get a value of second. Now it's interesting that if I don't have anything selected, and I do that same thing, I update an existing field, again type, and I type it a new value to assign, and I assign it, it gets assigned to all of them. So you have to be careful. If you only want to assign to a subset, you have to assign basically to those that are selected first. So you need to select them manually. Now we'll show you in a future video how to select them automatically or based on attributes, but right now we're just talking about manual selection and manual updates. You can also add a new column rather than through this calculate field to create a new column. You can just simply add a new column if you're not editing into it. Add a new field by clicking on this Add Field option, delete field. We went over in an earlier video, we have Add Field here, so I can left click and give it a name. So it's just basically the upper portion of that calculator. So I'll give this the name New Type. And again, I have to identify what it is, and this is a real or double, and I can give it the size I want and how many decimal points I want, and OK, and you'll see it adds it, and it gives it with a null value, the automatic base. So we can sort, we can select, we can calculate new data into the selected set or the entire set and change the values that are in our data. We often do this right after digitizing, so we'll digitize a set of features, select them based on their properties, and then assign values to columns that represent those properties.